How does a country take something made locally and turn it into a global sensation? It's a huge puzzle, right? Well, today, we're diving into a really important piece of India's strategy for doing just that, the Export Promotion Council. It's this government-backed system designed to help domestic producers make it big on the world stage.
I mean, really think about it. Let's say you're a small business owner and you've got an amazing product. How on earth do you even start to find buyers in, say, Germany? Or figure out the logistics of shipping to Brazil? It's a massive, overwhelming task. And this is the exact problem that governments, not just in India, but all over the world, are trying to solve for their entrepreneurs.
You know, we hear a lot about the invisible hand of the free market, but the reality is a bit different. The most successful trading nations don't just sit back and hope for the best. Nope, they actively try to guide the flow of trade. They use very specific tools and strategies to give their own businesses a real leg up out there.
And that challenge, man, it is huge. Selling your product internationally isn't just about having a great idea. You've got to understand completely different markets, meet all these international quality standards, navigate a literal mountain of paperwork, and somehow build trust with people who are thousands of miles away. For small and medium-sized businesses especially, it can feel almost impossible.
And this is India's answer to that challenge, the Export Promotion Council, or EPC for short. Now, these aren't just stuffy advisory boards. They're actual institutions, backed by the government, created for one reason, to give hands-on, practical help to exporters right where they need it, on the ground. They are the official support system.
So, where did this whole idea come from? Let's take a quick look at the story behind the EPCs in India and just how big this network has really gotten. Turns out, this system has some pretty deep roots, built up over decades to face the ever-changing world of global trade.
Yeah, this is not some new trendy idea. The whole concept of EPCs goes all the way back to the 1950s. The very first councils, for huge industries like textiles and plastics, were set up way back in 1954 and 55. And that tells you something. This has been a consistent, long-term government strategy to boost exports sector by sector.
And boy, has that strategy grown. Fast forward to today, and there are 37 different EPCs, commodity boards, and export development authorities. So we're not talking about one little office here. This is a vast, sprawling network covering pretty much everything you can think of, from engineering goods to spices, all with that same single goal, helping Indian businesses sell to the world.
All right, so we know they exist to help, but what does that help actually look like? What are they really doing for an exporter day in and day out? Let's break down what they actually do.
If you boil it all down, their work really falls into three main buckets. First, they're promoters, basically acting as brand ambassadors for Indian products. Second, they're the standard bearers, making sure quality is top-notch. And third, they're facilitators, the people who cut through all the annoying red tape. Let's dig into each of these.
First up, promotion. A huge part of their job is building brand India overseas. They work to create this image of India as a super reliable place to buy high-quality stuff. And this isn't just about fancy marketing. It's about building real trust by encouraging and sometimes even monitoring that our exporters are meeting those tough international standards that buyers abroad demand.
Second, they act as this incredible intelligence and networking hub. Think about it. One single business can't possibly keep up with every trend in every country, but the EPCs can. They keep their members in the loop on new opportunities and, this is crucial, they organize the events that matter. We're talking trade fairs, conferences, and those all-important buyer-seller meetings that put Indian sellers face-to-face with international buyers.
And third, they're the ones who slash through the red tape. They are the official bodies that issue the super important Registration-cum-Membership Certificate, the RCMC. You can think of it as the official passport for any business that wants to export. Once you have that, the whole documentation process gets so much smoother, and it becomes way easier to get access to government benefits and incentives.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what EPCs do, but it is just as important, maybe even more important, to be clear about the one major thing they don't do. And this is where a lot of people get confused.
Let me be absolutely crystal clear about this. EPCs do not give out money. They don't provide grants. They don't give you loans. There is no direct financial aid coming from them. Their help is in the form of guidance, market access, and cutting through bureaucracy, not cash.
So you might be wondering, well, how do they operate then? It's a membership model. The source material says it right there. Businesses pay an annual subscription fee, and in return for that fee, they get access to all those services we just talked about. They're service providers funded by the very members they're helping.
So when you pull it all together, what's the best way to think about an EPC? I kind of like this idea of them being your export co-pilot. They aren't flying the plane for you. That's still your job. But they're sitting right there in the cockpit with you, helping you read the maps, check the instruments, and navigate whatever comes your way. So here it is, the final breakdown. An EPC is a guide. It's a facilitator, a market navigator, and an advocate for quality. What it is absolutely not is a bank, an investor, or a grant provider. Understanding that difference is the key to seeing their real value in India's whole trade picture.
And that leaves us with one final thing to think about. In our world today, you can connect with anyone, anywhere with just a click. But does all that connection make the world simpler to navigate, or actually more complicated? In an age with so much information, so much noise, and so much competition, is having a dedicated navigator like an EPC actually more critical now than it ever was? It's a good question. Thanks for joining us.